will. I shall. Welcome to the Whiteboard Game. Psych! This ain't the Whiteboard Game. You thought you were wrong. Don't assume you make an ass out of you and only you because I'm not there. So, anyway, even though it's not the Whiteboard Game, I'm still Frederick.
I'm still Chris.
We are the Idiot Twin Boys. We're doing something a bit different here. This is for all you hardcore, not just rate your music users, but also fans of, I'd say quite easily, one of the greatest bands of all time. The Beatles. Psych, you thought. The Beach Boys is who we're talking about today, the Beach Boys. And we are talking about one of the greatest what-ifs in musical history. And that is Brian Wilson's magnum opus, the SMiLE Sessions, otherwise known as just SMiLE. There are many versions of this album. We're just going to have a chat about it because it is something that deserves a lot of conversation. There's so much lore behind it, so much endeavour, so much reputation. And we want to have this chat, but we want you to get involved. If you are a Beach Boys fan, tell us your thoughts on this project after you've heard ours. Message us. Don't bully us. We know what we like and we like what we know. If you haven't heard the SMiLE Sessions, do yourself a favour. Or SMiLE, any version thereof. Do yourself a favour because it is momentous. Chris, what's your favourite version?
My favourite version, well, I suppose the two versions that are out currently. What I suppose we should say is SMiLE as a concept. When we speak about SMiLE, we don't speak about the 60s SMiLE, as that is not a thing that exists. When we speak about SMiLE, we speak about the two renditions that have been created, one in 2004, just by Brian Wilson and his backing
sort of archival
band.
Release, almost.
You're thinking about the 2011 one.
Oh, sorry, I am, yes, sorry, pardon me.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
I know, sorry.
The 2004 one is meant to be like a re-recording of everything and idealising what SMiLE could have been. And as you say, the SMiLE Sessions, which would have been the 2011 one, is the archival release of, we've got a blueprint for what SMiLE could have been like with Brian Wilson's SMiLE, so we're going to use that and sort of collate all of the original recordings that Brian made in the late 60s, 66, 67. My preferred version is Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE, the 2004 version. What is your favourite version?
Already interesting fraction point. This is what my favourite version is, a 2011.
Oh, it's almost
sort of
like
compilation version.
Almost like that is going to be an important topic of today's
discussion. It probably will. And we'll get to the bottom of why one of us is wrong. That's not how it works. How are we doing this? What are we doing?
Well, I think what we're planning on doing is sort of providing a bit of exposition about each track, maybe what we like about it.
Sure.
What we sort of recall and remember from original Beach Boys stuff that may inform it, or maybe if we've just heard it before on an actual Beach Boys release, because there is quite a lot of music off of the two new renditions of SMiLE that were intended for the initial SMiLE, didn't get put out, and were then later reconsidered for certain albums. So we'll chat a bit about that at points. So I suppose to start off with, shall we chat about the first track?
Our Prayer. I'd say just a very strong introduction. It's a wonderful introductory thing. I think in an era of musical history that we have gone from the 60s until now, where classical music has, through the invention of the radio and electric instruments and whatever, and social media and marketing, whatever, has become less all-encompassing, I suppose. It's another thing now. When, of course, it was just all it was. Things like choral music aren't as in the public eye consistently, and so to have a project that opens with what is effectively however many part vocal harmony as a curtain raiser. It is a sort of subliminal stage setting of we're doing crazy compositional things here. This is not going to be your standard, 4 on the floor, rock and roll, whatever. We ain't on the beach anymore. We ain't doing surf rock. This is, I think that's just it. It's just a very good curtain raiser, is how I describe it.
I completely agree. I think it's really nice that actually Brian has a track like that to his name, which is so evidently inspired by Bach.
Yes.
Because from what I've seen him speak about Bach and how inspired he was by him, I think it's very eloquent that he has a track like that. I think at the same time, there's definitely certain elements of the way Brian writes that you can see is not very Bach, which is actually quite nice, because I think that I suppose calls to his more influences from other places, and the piece being his own solitarily as well. This was included on the Beach Boys album 2020, which came out in 1969, I think, and was generally seen as a bit of like a hodgepodge of different, ends of stuff that they have made. Which, I mean, it's the same as on the SMiLE session, so that's nice. Don't have much to say about it. I think it's, as you say, it's a great opener, very unique. Glad he has something like that to his name, really.
I think it's a very early indication of the versatility of Brian Wilson, I think. The sort of, I don't know if you've ever heard of the phrase Renaissance man before, as an adjective, not as the Da Vinci painting.
Yeah.
Is it really? It's more of a drawing, I suppose. But as someone who can genuinely be quite strong at everything.
Like the Vesperian man, or am I thinking of something different?
Oh, is it? Am I being stupid? Is it the? That's I'm being silly.
Or something, I think.
Nonetheless,
Vitruvian.
That's it. Yeah. Momentarily distracted by a seagull. Pardon me. In this part of the country. So this idea of the Renaissance man as someone who can be very strong at multiple different art forms, I think has become a bit of a forgotten thing. I think you're either a very good guitarist or a very good singer, or you're a very good comedy actor, or you're a very good straight actor. If I'm entering judgmental mode, we can see that when random actors decide they just want to write an album and then it sucks. Or we can see that when random singers want to use their fame to push their way into a lead role in a film and then they suck. It's a lost art form, being able to do all these different things. This is a man who wasn't just a musician, he was a composer, and he could do, I think if he really wanted to, he probably could have done all genres.
Absolutely could have.
And he opens with a choral piece here.
Yeah,
so
amazing. The very last thing I wanted to say is I think it's a great example of how good he was at compartmentalizing his influences and being able to write in, as you say, different veins. True Renaissance man.
No, sorry, completely. In a similar way, I think G picks up from where our prayer leaves off, kind of thing.
Yeah, it does. Interestingly, because on the different versions of SMiLE, on the SMiLE sessions, it's its own track, whereas on Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE, it's put in tandem with our prayer.
Yes,
it's slashed.
Yeah, which makes sense, and I think as a result, I don't necessarily have anything unique to say about it compared to everything I've said about our prayer. I suppose there's probably interesting commentary to be made on the fact that on the titling, Our Prayer versus G, Our Prayer being sort of quite an austere, reverential opening, almost like a meditation, as a prayer is. It's a conversation with God and yourself in private. And then G is, the knee slapping number.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're in barbershop mode. You've gone from choir to barbershop, which is a really fun transition. And again, not only are we showing with 2 choral tracks or 1 in some versions, the versatility of composition, it's the versatility of tone now as well. We're able to go from sort of really hulking extended vocal chords into we're having a party, guys. We're having a dance, which is nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. I think with G, what I think it represents in the track listing is it gives you a really good, solid understanding of sort of where he's going to go harmoniously with this track, with the album, sorry. Because I think the album generally harmoniously is very interesting. His music generally was as well. There's a lot of very sort of catchy harmonies that he'll use, and I think G perfectly reflects that. There's a lot of the chords that he uses in that, the vocal motifs that lend themselves to those chords.
Yes,
they move in and out of different extensions. Yep. And they add to the beauty and the catchiness of the harmonies that he conjures there.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned motifs, because if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time in any version of SMiLE where you start to get the motifs show up. They keep coming back.
That's true.
Because in the mix of everything, I'm quite sure you get one of the layers going ba 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 ba, which is you get a lot, and then the whole thing ends with your ba 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 ba.
Leads into Heroes and Villains.
Yes,
he also sings Heroes and Villains a lot as well.
He does.
And a motif that doesn't link to a SMiLE track, but that I noticed is in the bits where they're singing Heroes and Villains, the bit before that they go, dirty water, heroes and villains, and that is a bit out of Don't Go Near the Water, off of Surf's Up. So, yeah. And as you say, it's beautiful that it introduces that recurring motifs idea, because that is something that pushes the album very heavily, and in my opinion is one of the reasons why I like it so much.
It's not treated as an album at times. It's treated like one whole symphony, or it's almost like an architectural thing.
It's incredibly symphonic.
It's layers, and it's about if I go really pompous now, and I think back to my days of second year English theory lectures, there was what are their names? I can't remember their names. But there's a theory of literature called a rhizome, which is actually a botanical term about the way the roots will overlap with each other. And it was used in terms of literature to talk about the way that influences and references crisscross and overlap, and eventually you got this whole new thing. But it's trying to say that's actually how complicated literature is. It's all these different layers interlocking and zigzagging. It's never just one influence or anything. But that's kind of what this album is at the same time. It's all these different ideas that keep interlocking or whatever. And he is some master architect or jigsaw designer because everything fits. I think it's very easy to look at this album and, we're only on 2 tracks, and to say, it's just some boys singing. But then if you actually try and understand what's going on and the project as a whole, the fact that he wants recurring leitmotifs, like he's writing a Wagner opera, it's... And this is a theme that in our discussion that I'm sure we could come back to. The fact that someone was trying to do this in the 60s is insanity. It's insane.
Time. Absolutely. Heroes and Villains
is on some days the greatest song ever written. On some days.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an interesting one in that in my listening of the Beach Boys, I listened to SMiLE last because I wanted the last thing I listened to of theirs to be that. So I knew about the SMiLE version, and I liked it, wasn't overly enthralled by it, and it's just sort of the re-listening to it in these 2 different versions with the new sections that's really got me into it a bit more. It's one of those ones that I can't even necessarily pinpoint aspects of it that I like so much. It's just a really good first proper song to start the album off.
Yes. So, I think the first time I listened to this was when I listened to SMiLE. The graveyard of what was meant to be SMiLE back in the 60s, which I think controversially for some, I still really enjoy listening to.
Okay.
Are you telling me that you don't crack up when they do She's Going Bald? Are you being serious? And it goes all melodramatic with the sort of descending diminished chord. And I was smitten. I just go, sorry, why do I kind of recognise this, but not quite. And then you go to the SMiLE session. And the difference with the SMiLE sessions or Brian Wilson SMiLE, it moves much quicker in that the SMiLE version, I find it takes a while for it to properly balloon into like the 10 million part song that Brian Wilson has composed. And that's why I keep saying symphony. It's like you've got a whole orchestra going in there, but also 20 of the parts are different vocal layers, and it's just ridiculous. And you know, the people have done up the sheet music of this, and you look at it and you go, I will say it's difficult to pick a favourite point on the whole thing, but very, very possibly favourite point is the moment where everything drops away and then you get the I've been in this town so long. It's so raw. That whole section, so long for the city. I'm fit with the stars to ride in the rough and sunny down snuff. I'm alright. The progression of the vocal chords and the rawness of that lead vocal as it comes away from how huge a song this is. Rivaled only in this song by the very end where the tempo blocks come in. And you get that rising melody again. Heroes and Villains is, I think, one of the forgotten achievements of this album, because I think everyone wants to talk about Good Vibrations and Surf's Up. But Heroes and Villains is, for me, as good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think my favourite section is probably the section that was left off of the SMiLE. The in the canteen.
Yeah, so lovely.
It's really, really gorgeous.
Margaritas keep the spirit high.
Why was that left off of the original one?
It's so nice.
What a peculiar
there
choice.
I watched her
spun around and wild. You get the laughs in the background. Dance margarita. Don't you know that I love you? Yeah, just again, it's that gorgeous harmony that he does so well.
Did I have? Well, I'm not going to talk about much now, but another thing we'll come back to throughout is, I think, the lyricism on this. Very often spearheaded or assisted by Van Dyke Park.
Absolutely, yeah.
Who I think to this day is given a bit of stick by some people for being too abstract. But I mean, you know me, Chris. I think he's a wizard. I think he's a true
absolutely.
poet. And it does bear mentioning that there are sort of different parts of this album. I think this is sort of like the Wild West part.
Yeah, Americana.
Yeah, where Brian Wilson and co are trying to look back at what the US was like, maybe with a tinge of regret, because you do get themes of Native Americanism in there. And of course, it didn't really work out very well for them when the English showed up, as it didn't for many countries.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially with the track after Heroes and Villains.
There we go, which we can go on to.
Yeah. This is interestingly named two different things in the two different versions. In the Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE, it's called Roll Plymouth Rock. And in the SMiLE Sessions, it's called Do You Like Worms? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Which I still can't put my finger on as to why, but I love it. I love it. And you know what? If anything would ever make me like worms, it would be this. It would be this.
Do you know when people ask you, would you love me if I was a worm?
If you were this worm.
If you were this worm, yes.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What is there to say? It's incredibly dramatic.
I like how it re-establishes the heroes and villains theme. To some extent, I think that's the one bit of the album where I say the leitmotifs take away from the intrinsic properties of the song itself. At least in terms of albums, I often sort of feel like if you are going to use leitmotifs throughout, I think every song has to have its own identity. And I think because half of this song is using the heroes and villains motif in a different way, of course, but still recognisably so. I think it can, for me, detract from it a little bit. But I do like that they build on it and they add more of the Native American themes.
Absolutely.
Just see what you've done to the Church of the American Indian.
Bicycle riding. But again, it's just he's not stretching the voice in terms of its, like, you know, we can talk about composers like Berio, who did his sequenzas, and he did his, what was her name? Amazing female vocalist whose name I can't remember. They might have been married, actually. And the vocal sequenza is stretching the actual capacity of as with all the sequenzas for the chosen instrument, was stretching the capacity of that instrument. What is the highest note? What's the lowest note? How long can you hold a breath for? What's the weirdest noise you can make? Because you start getting things where he's scoring in laughter and stuff in a particular rhythm of the but she's a soprano and she's going all the way down there. He doesn't stretch it in the same way because he's not a cruel, twisted, you know, evil man. He is stretching, I guess, what we understand the voice can do traditionally in terms of harmony and layers, because he's proving that you don't need to be jumping octaves or whatever, because you remember that first track, Our Prayer, when it was all very nice and sullen, and now I've got my brothers doing all these low parts instead, where they're now going Bob, ooga chokwa, ooga ooga, almost like Guardians of the Galaxy or something. But it just, again, another thing I'll keep saying, the whole thing's so much fun.
It is.
It's so much fun. It's again, I don't know. It's one I want to keep saying. It's one of my favourites on it. This one's my favourite. I'm going to keep saying that. Is like a magpie with shiny stuff. They're all my favourite.
Yeah.
I can't pick a favourite child. It's impossible.
Exactly. The one thing I think is different between them is I think there's in the I'm just going to call it the Rock Plymouth Roll section, if you get me.
Yeah.
Rock, roll, Plymouth Rock, roll over. There's lyrics before that on Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE that aren't on the archival SMiLE sessions, which is interesting because when I listen to it, I sort of think, are these lyrics that Brian and Van Dyke Parks wrote at the time, and maybe sort of thought that, you know, they just didn't get the chance to write them, or is this something which in 2004 Brian was sort of like, oh, I'd quite like to have this on there. It'd be interesting, but I don't think that's been documented.
No,
it's an interesting thought myself. Regardless. On to the next one.
I'm in Great Shape, which is very limited on the SMiLE sessions, especially.
Well, that's an interesting one because that's segmented later on the Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE. Interesting choice of a position change. But I mean, look, it definitely feels like a shift in tone. We're not really doing Wild West Americana stuff anymore. At least on the SMiLE sessions, we're not. Yeah.
And it's very quirky.
It is, yeah. I find that on Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE, it comes after Surf's Up, so after you've got the children's section closed and the elements section comes in. It's a nice sort of...
I think that probably makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, do you know what? I think there's one line on it that makes me think it would fit on the Americana bit, which is where he says, I'm in the great shape of the agriculture.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think vibe-wise, it feels like it makes sense to start the elements because you've just had this very sort of introspective and quite depressing song in Surf's Up. And then he goes, hang on, guys, didn't you remember that happy feeling you had before this song? Let's get back to it. Here we go.
Let's get back to it.
Which is nice. I don't have too much more to say about it. It's just really nice and pleasant and sweet, and I think works well in both positions it's put on either release, to be honest. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the things going in my ears at the same time.
I think the next one is the Old Masters Workshop. Is that right?
On the Brian Wilson one, perhaps.
Okay.
Workshop is later on SMiLE Sessions.
No, the Old Masters something.
We've got Barnyard on the...
Oh, yes, of course. Barnyard, yes. How could I forget about Barnyard?
Ding, 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 ding.
I've been reading a book by David Leaf, who was a long-time photographer and journalist with Brian Wilson, and so I'll probably mention that book multiple times because it's helped inform what I know about SMiLE now, and especially about the things that was going on around the time that Brian wrote it. And Barnyard seems to be one of the things which the other Beach Boys were like, okay, Brian, what's going on here?
Too far.
Like this is very peculiar.
Too many pet sounds, Brian. Too many.
But I love it. I think it's so quirky and so lovely. And to me, I think the meaning of this song is it's sort of like what you spoke about in some of the Whiteboard Game extracts, in that seeing what can be considered music, and seeing that in it, and I'm guessing it's Van Dyke Parks' lyricism in out in the barnyard, the chickens do their number. Yes, that makes sense. You can sort of see that the chickens are clucking, and do their number makes it feel like they're singing a song. Which I think is lovely. And I think the whimsy of the track lends to that idea as well.
I genuinely, I think that's the only other thing I'd add on to it. I think you've got to try, and I think the best experience of any iteration of SMiLE you can take is one where you both understand the weight of it as a project, but also as something where you take a lot of fun and whimsy out of. I think if you can find a healthy balance of both, it makes for a wonderful experience. Absolutely,
yeah. When I'm at my most comfortable, I do sometimes let out out in the barnyard, the chickens do their number. Out in the farmyard, the cuckoo's cutting lumber. And people look at me funny. But that's okay.
But they just don't get it.
Because they haven't listened to SMiLE.
They just don't get it.
They haven't listened to Brian Wilson.
They just don't get it.
I think now is the Old Masters.
What, My Only Sunshine?
Yeah. Let me. I haven't actually got it up here.
He's getting it up, guys. Give him a chance. He's getting it up.
Old Master Painter. Is that on / You Are My Sunshine?
Yeah. So the Old Master Painter / You Are My Sunshine.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. I mean, Old Master Paint, especially on the Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE, this whole track is only a minute long. So
we've got about 2.
That Old Master Painter, it's minimal. It's very limited compositionally. So you sort of get the feeling that maybe this is something which Brian composed at the time and was meant to be something a bit bigger, and maybe he didn't get too far with. Perhaps, I'm not too sure. It's nice. It's a nice little interlude-y sort of bit, I suppose.
Yes.
I don't have much more to say beyond that.
I think something I haven't mentioned yet is the personal nostalgia of this for me. Because when I was working through the Beach Boys not too long ago, and I came to the SMiLE session, and it was this very surreal experience of going, hang on, wait, I know this. Wait, I know this. Wait, I know this one. I know all of these things. I remember all of them. And so a lot of what's tied into this for me is quite a heaping of nostalgia, because when I was growing up and being introduced to all this different music, a lot of it was through different videotapes that Dad had of live performances or music videos. And we had a video of the Brian Wilson Presents live.
Nice.
And so all of these melodies and motifs that I was listening to, it wasn't that they were just quite familiar, it's that I already knew them. And so it really takes me back to childhood, which is, of course, a huge aspect of this anyway, trying to capture the essence of childhood. And I think for me, a soft spot for this one, because I think, if I'm remembering correctly, this used to be one of my lullaby tracks, as it were. You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine, which of course is already a traditional song, especially in the US, as I understand it. But it's just so beautiful, and there's a certain charm, especially on the SMiLE sessions, I think, to having and whether it's intentional or not, incredibly EQ'd vocals, which make it sound like he's in a phone booth somewhere, singing this lullaby, this nursery rhyme, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of charm to it. It feels very warm.
There's a lot of charm. At the same time, I think Brian does a lot to alter the way that this sounds. I mean, I'd heard "You Are My Sunshine" before. My gran used to sing it quite a lot to us.
That's lovely.
When we were very young. But he takes a lot of the words and changes it. I think the way he sings it is "You were my sunshine."
He does change that.
How could you take that sunshine away?
How could you take my blue sky away?
Which is really beautiful. I think copyright-wise, I don't think you can actually do that without paying a good amount to the original composer. But this is a traditional thing, so he wouldn't have had to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that he writes it. He changes the key. I think it might be Dorian. Maybe it's quite modal. But what's really clever about that is, even though it might feel like it's Dorian, in modes you can still feel where the tonal center is.
Yes.
When he's singing it, you feel like the chord never lands on what the tonal center is. So it's always on edge. Composition, he's always thinking of ways to put his point across. You were my sunshine, my only sunshine. It's meant to feel edgy. It's meant to feel uncomfortable. Very, very clever. Cabin Essence, one of the biggest changes from SMiLE up until a finalized project. Although there is one later that I think is an even bigger change, for me personally anyway. I found it much more shocking. This is there's one of the ones where I just genuinely don't know where to start. There's so much going on. It's almost like 3 different sections, I suppose. You've got the 3 songs in one.
Doing, doing, doing. You've got the and then you've got section. Have you seen the Grand Coulee working on the one of the most proggy, I suppose.
It's quite proggy. I mean, people consider it prog pop, don't they?
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think this was first released on 2020. I think from what I remember listening to it, the version of that is fairly similar. I think the only main difference is that driving section. The version they put out in 1969 was still driving, but it's softer. There's something buzzier in the archival release, the SMiLE sessions. Which definitely was something that Brian wanted in the track. So it's really nice to have that. And the Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE has that feeling as well. Of course, it feels more orchestral and sweet-like, I suppose, when it's on Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE, because I suppose it's newer. So recording technology has come a way so that driving section doesn't feel as claustrophobic, perhaps. It's still gorgeous, irrespective of the version. I think I mentioned this to you before. It's nice that there is a Brian Wilson and Beach Boys track that feels so cozy and almost sort of wintry, because I feel like for a long time they were a sunshine band.
They were. I'll give you some lovely lore here. Some lovely lore, which I was trying to find the source for again, but I have done. So your final section, over and over, the crow cries, so on and so forth. Which I believe is about the workers forming the transatlantic railroad.
So when you say have you seen the grand, that word, I think that was a slur for the rail workers.
The Chinese, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah. And it's about looking up and seeing these birds and envisioning being as free as them, I think. I mean, it's a huge song because it's fascinating in terms of writing. You can talk about oxymoron or juxtaposition, I suppose, because it starts so small. Cabin, right? Cabin. Very cute. You've got the sort of banjo twanging away. You feel like you're on someone's porch or in front of a fire. And then suddenly you're building a railroad under the beating sun.
It does sound like you're building something.
And there are birds flying overhead. And then you're imagining being the bird and you're soaring over these great plains. It goes from so small to so big so quickly, which is, again, just such daring writing. Yeah. But here's my law. So with that end bit, apparently... they made such little sense to everyone's favourite member of the Beach Boys. Can you guess who?
Mike Love.
That he refused to sing them. And then when Van Dyke Parks was questioned about what they meant, this is apparently a quote. He said, "I had no idea what those words mean. I was perhaps thinking of Van Gogh's wheat field or an idealised agrarian environment. Maybe I meant nothing, but I was trying to follow Brian Wilson's vision at the time. At least someone was trying to follow it, Mr. Parks. You know who you are, Mike." Yes.
Yeah, I think we could speak a lot about Mike Love, and I think the only thing I'm going to say is it's incredibly amusing hearing him talk back about that period.
Yeah.
David Leaf alludes to that in the book that I've been reading, in that he sort of he almost sort of calls him out on it, because he says that, you know, in later interviews, Mike Love is so quick to sort of say, oh, you know, back in the 60s we were different from other bands. We were really pushing the narrative and doing other things. And then you're sat there like, well, no, because the evidence is showing that you're actually pushing against that, and you were incredibly resistant to why the album couldn't happen. And ultimately, that's a leading factor as to why it didn't come out, because the people that were around Brian at the time, and I'm looking at every Beach Boy as well, because a lot of them weren't supportive to him at this time at all. He needed support of this sort of stuff to keep pursuing it. And if the people around him weren't pushing him, it made him so depressed, which is really sad, because the music is great.
It is hot. You know who I don't love? Mike Love. And I'll leave it there. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, but Cabin Essence, great track, and truly one of the definitely one of my favourites.
It's one of the, I think, the most daring, is how I'll put it. You might even say it's wonderful. Yeah, sorry, that was my best lemon grab impression for you Adventure Time fans out there.
But yes, next track. Wonderful. Would you imagine? Yeah, I think this is a bit like what you were saying with Cabin Essence in the difference between the original version and what we got here.
Yeah.
Wonderful was on SMiLE.
Yeah, and it is much more limited.
You wouldn't have thought that it was on SMiLE because you listen to that version. And it, I mean, for want of a better term, it sucks. Like, it's so...
Even as a SMiLE enjoyer, I must put my hands up and say it's not the best. It completely
drains all of the wonderful aspects about the song. I spoke quite a bit about this in a recent Whiteboard Game, so I won't go on too much. I'll let you take the stage if you'd like to speak about it.
It tells the story, in my opinion, of, at least on a surface level reading, of a young lady who is a very pure woman of God, you might say. And she tries to grow up. She loses all of that innocence to a non-believer, as it were, maybe. Perhaps a man. But then she, all fall down. She returns from that dark place, and all that's left is a girl who is loved by her mother and father. And in the end, it's still wonderful. She returns to her wonderful. Remind us what you said, what your interpretation of that wonderful was.
I interpreted the wonderful as youthful creativity and young spirit, ultimately. This is the start of the children's section, as people call it.
Yes.
One of the most visceral parts of the album, I find, because I think you can see that it's something that really fascinated both Brian and Van Dyke.
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful way to start off this section, because it almost sort of introduces you to the idea, sort of saying this is something, this is the whimsy, but don't lose it, because you won't, you'll lose that wonderful. And you need that wonderful. It's such a lovely thing. It's an aspect of love at the same time as well, I think.
It's. I think the last thing I'll say on it is what an incredible progression it is, chord-wise.
Oh, so gorgeous.
It's just, and again, I hate to say it, only one man could have come up with it. Only one man could have come up with it and made it sound that pristine as well. Only he could write it and then go, we need a harpsichord for this. We need a harpsichord for this.
Truly one of the peaks of his chord with different bass note writing. Like every chord has a bass note that isn't a tonic, basically. No. Genius. Amazing writing.
Well, we as he was. Look!
Song for children.
My favourite thing to say about this is a YouTube comment on the SMiLE Sessions playlist, which says something like, "Oh, this music is very suitable for people who are running somewhere," or something. Not in terms of going on a jog, but like running into the sun kind of thing, like movie credit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I do get it.
Yeah, I get it as well. Yeah, it's quite a driving song. I think it's sort of like it's like all the drums on beat, snare, kick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at this point in the children's section where I sort of think if only there were like one full song extra we got in that children's section. I feel like this song and the song after it is sort of like interlude sort of tracks that lead up to Surf's Up. If we had one more song in that children's section that was like a whole piece, whole song, introduces new motifs, this would be one of like the best like 5-run songs. For me, at least.
When people do those compilation videos, what's the best 5-run song in music history?
But yeah, Song for Children. I think what I like the most about it is its use of the leitmotifs. It introduces some of the ones from Good Vibrations, I think. For the first time, maybe on the album, I'm not sure. It introduces a motif that I think sort of builds up to Surf's Up in the Child is the Father of the Man. I'm going to call it that motif, even though the next track is of the same name. To me, that's what it does better, and that's why I say it feels more like an interlude sort of track, because within a symphony, sections that might not feel like the main sections are probably the sections that aren't introducing new motifs and are just sort of using the ones that have already been used and developing them in interesting ways and helping to keep that symphony continue.
This is the exposition section. No, what's it? Exposition? What's the middle bit? Development. Yeah, this is the development section. This is the development section. Yeah,
exactly. Child is the Father of the Man, which is interesting looking back on it now. Given that I think if you were into the Beach Boys in the 70s, you would have obviously heard Surf's Up. And that final section that leans very heavily on the on this motif.
Child.
Father of the Man.
Father of the Man.
You would probably go to this and go, it'll be interesting, because you wouldn't necessarily have the context of, it seems that Brian is building up this motif up to Surf's Up. Whereas on the Surf's Up that we got in 1971, Surf's Up just sort of goes, bang, there you go, it's Surf's Up, and you haven't been introduced to the motifs or anything, here you go. So I think more than anything, I like that it offers that progression into Surf's Up.
Yeah, that's valid. I think it bears mentioning what on earth this oxymoron is trying to say. What does Child as the Father of the Man even mean? And it is probably, between Van Dyke Parks and Brian Wilson, one of the most abstruse lyrics on the whole thing, because what on earth, Child is the Father of the Man. And I think it is, I mean, this whole section, I think, shows Brian Wilson's mourning for the loss of childhood innocence and this desperation to get back there. You see that as a theme in Wonderful. You see it so strongly in Surf's Up, this longing for something that he feels might not be there anymore. And this is A Child is the Father of the Man, which, as you said, explored further in Surf's Up with more lyrics added in, which kind of help you build a context around it. But I don't know, it's very difficult to say. I try and say it's alluding to maybe this idea that the purity of childhood puts children in a superior position of some sense to the older generations beforehand. That purity, that innocence is something that creates some sort of superiority for Brian Wilson. Maybe it's unblighted by, I don't know, greed, doubt, all of this stuff. I don't know. I think the point is I'm probably not meant to, because it is a very difficult metaphor to get into. It
is, completely. I mean, I think there's a funny interview Brian did in the late 70s, I think, where some guy asks him, Brian, what makes you laugh? And he says, arguments make him laugh. And he says it in a very Brian way, where you can tell that he's being serious, but he's also trying to be amusing at the same time. And it's him being amused by other people argue. And I think, to me, that reflects what he means by a child is the father of the man. I feel like it's quite it can be quite a childish thing to argue, but I feel like annoyance generally is more of an adulty sort of thing.
Yeah, I get it,
and having issues with things. And I think Brian's depiction of childhood is more so one of, as you say, innocence, purity, lightheartedness, fun. Ultimately, I think a lot of people associate their childhood with fun, lacking responsibilities. And I completely agree that I think the idea of child is the father of the man is to say that, well, the man should be looking to the child as a father, because actually there is a lot of inspiring things to see in learn, children. Their whimsy, lack of care for a lot of things. And of course we need to care about some things, of course. But I think Brian Wilson mentioning finding arguments funny to me reflects that fairly. Is it time?
It probably is time.
Surf's Up.
One of the grandest statements Brian Wilson ever makes, if not the grandest.
One of the grandest statements in music history,
probably.
Arguably.
I mean, within his own catalogue, rivaled only by the likes of God Only Knows or Good Vibrations. But even then, you might still pick Surf's Up. I'm not going to spend this whole time breaking down every single line, but lyrically it's so rich.
Incredibly clever.
This is, I think, lyrically, I can say, the crowning achievement of the whole thing. At the very least, lyrically. Because it is so much about things becoming dated, things getting older, things suddenly becoming sadder. In a Beach Boys history moment, you might say that it is the turning point of them going, well, Surf's Up. At least Brian Wilson trying to say that. And as we know, when Surf's Up does get released, he slowly starts to take the step back, at least from live performance, and then even maybe writing duties at times. And so even when he does say, it's why the surf rock it still kind of hangs around a bit. That's because Brian Wilson, even though he's saying, this isn't me anymore, Surf's Up, bring the boards in, it's over. It's so bleak. It is. He's not there to kind of carry that vision through properly. I've got to shut up because I keep talking about lyrics. I've got to shut up.
No, I agree. I think it's again, there's interviews I've seen of him where it's like the 80s where he's not performing with the Beach Boys, and he's in interviews where he says that they're performing these rinky-dink surf songs. He describes them as rinky-dink. quite funny. And he says that it feels like it sort of embarrasses him, because I think it reminds him of a time where maybe compositionally he's a bit more, he's not worse, but he's sort of, I mean, to look at compositions like this, I mean, they're head and shoulders above all their early
Compare
stuff.
It to, I don't know, Fun or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I love fun.
Oh no, I love fun. I you know,
that's
there's no
the
guilt
thing,
in
though.
that. There's no guilt.
I guess it's a complexity sort of thing. And I don't know, maybe the Beach Boys were never taken terribly seriously back in the day, because they were like, oh, these are the guys that sing about cars and girls and surfing.
Cars and girls.
And yeah, I do agree. I think it's a really nice metaphor that he uses that for this, because it works in that way, and I think it works in the children's aspects as well, where Surf's Up is being used as the idea of, well, you're an adult now, so better grow up and deal with the responsibilities you have, because that's just what everyone else is doing.
And no one has ever made that more devastating than this.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly visceral. I think I love the abstract lyricism.
Yeah.
Van Dyke Parks in the first section, where he's sort of describing having a mental breakdown.
Yes.
When I'm not really sure what is he singing about, watching an opera or some musical theatre sort of thing.
See, we love it and we're still not sure.
Yeah. Just sort of being overcome with the acceptance of age, and you know, this is why we have terms like midlife crisis. And stuff like that. It's because I suppose humans maybe aren't meant to necessarily completely comprehend the idea that we get older and things change. And as you say, it's incredibly viscerally described here. I think I know that your favourite section is the last section, though, where the child is the father of the man motif really overcomes you. I think
it's so overwhelming the first couple of times you listen to it. I've shown you before, I'm going to shout him out here, one of my favourite music channels, review channels, is a guy called Smags, because he's so authentic. And it's when he's reacting to this for the first time, and he's already bewildered, because he's going, how has he written this? And then you get, I heard the word wonderful thing, so I'm an octave low, wonderful thing, a children's song. And you know, that's already beautiful. And he's there, and then you get a child, just explode, and you just kind of see him lean back, and you just go, oh my God. It cracks me up every single time. And you know, you ever watch, like, you know, just a stranger cry on the internet before, and he gets this close. And when I say they add lyrics that help you understand the metaphor, what's it? A children's song, you listen as they play. More so, I think I heard the word wonderful thing, a children's song. It's like, listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
Listen to the song, because that will guide you back to, for Brian Wilson at least, true happiness, probably.
Completely, yeah. The last thing I'll say about it is I think the only difference I detected on the archival release and the original one that was released in 1971 on the album of the same name is Carl sings lead in the main section.
Yes.
In the original one, but this is changed to Brian singing it in the new one, which is nice, and it feels more personal to Brian, although I know that he loved to give his more vocally ambitious songs to Carl.
He loved Carl so much, man. And Carl's got such a gorgeous voice.
Amazing.
And then from the sort of epiphanic beauty of Surf's Up, you get Workshop. You get I Want to Be Around, which has On My Sillier Days my favourite moment on the whole album, which is when you can hear all the construction in the background, and then you hear, I presume it's Brian, but I can't be sure, you hear someone hammering, and you go, ow! It cracks me up every single time.
It's nice that they kept that incorporated in the Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE one, and in the live show, it's funny when you see one of them hit themselves.
Ow!
Very good. I enjoy. I want to be around from a point of it reminds me quite a bit of Fingertips by They Might Be Giants.
Okay.
Another quite similarly whimsy sort of band. In that Fingertips is meant to be a song that's it's like 30 songs in like one medley.
Crazy.
And they change song every few seconds. Because I want to be around. It's got lyrics, but it's an incredibly short piece that moves on to workshop very quickly. It reminds me of that, and that's quite nice. I think that quick shifting of motifs maybe reminds me a bit of childhood in a way, in that you're sort of, I don't know, you're always keen to move on to the next thing as a child, perhaps. But
well, yeah, it is that melancholy, and then it's just, it's almost like, okay, next song under construction, let's keep it moving. Next stage of life under construction, let's keep it moving.
That's true.
Let's keep it moving.
And next section, keep moving as well, because we're now in the elements.
Well, exactly. Next section under construction, keep moving. In a way, I suppose that reminds me of my favourite prog section change of all time, which is, it's one of the Genesis epic ones. And I sometimes get confused when I'm not fully focused because they're both about 20 minutes and you can't. I want to say it's Supper's Ready. At one point where, it is in this one where it kind of feels like almost like in a Monty Python way. They haven't written the end of the sketch. They haven't written the end of the section. And so they just keep telling jokes until Graham Chapman walks on set and goes, right, dressed up as the army sergeant. He goes, right, this is silly now. Director, cut, because they haven't thought of a proper punchline, and that's how they get to the next sketch. Oh, nice. And in this one, Genesis, it's just going on, and then eventually you get a referee whistle, and then you hear Peter Gabriel go, all change, and then it just goes into the next section. It's just fantastic. Yeah. And so I kind of see similarities there. And it helps you get into which on my silly days is my favourite thing that he's ever written. Vegetables, aka Vega-Tables.
Vega-Tables,
I cannot tell you how much I love this thing, man. I think it's so much fun. And how delightful it is, the difference between the SMiLE version and then the proper versions. The first time you hear that section where he goes, eat a lot, sleep a lot, brush 'em like crazy. Well done. That's harmony great. Was very good. Well done.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember when I first listened to that, I went, because that's on Wild Honey, as Mama Says, the outro to that album. So it's really interesting that they used it there, but it's weird because like that's not a long section in Vegetables. So to make that track a little bit longer, they play about with the rhythms of it, and it's like, okay, this is all right. Yeah. Doesn't do too much for you, but when you put it in Vegetables, you're like, yeah, it's meant to be here. Why did they ever consider moving it out?
It's the same playful thing. It kind of reminds you of the sillier days of when you're young, and you're being told to do this, that, whatever, and you're like, I don't care, man, I'm a kid. Yeah, who cares? The teeth are meant to fall out, you know.
It's an interesting juxtaposition of, because Brian's constantly saying, I'm going to chow down my vegetables, I'm going to do them, but he's saying it in such a childlike way, which you wouldn't associate with it, which is in some ways reflects the idea of Surf's Up so very well, I suppose. Yeah, you're now an adult, you're doing more responsible things, but you're still being childish about it, which is nice. And I think the differences between the SMiLE version also extend to, it starts off in a key 2 tones, one tone down.
Crazy.
From the one that we get in the archival release and Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE. Which is interesting. I quite like it because it makes that final section a lot more satisfying. Brian had a way of writing songs where different sections would be in different keys. The main one reminds me of it is Don't Worry Baby, because he has the verse in one key and the chorus is it's a semitone or a tone up from the other stuff, and it feels so much more gratifying, so much more emotional. And I felt that with the original version of Vegetables on SMiLE. We don't get that on the newer ones, but the whole thing is joyous. It really doesn't take too much away from it.
I'll have a very short comparison to the section I singled out of Heroes and Villains, because it's, Brian Wilson's vocal arrangement at its most massive, which is the same for the Vegetables. everything goes away, and you get, I've been in this town so long, and that's why it's my favorite, because everything goes away, and you go, oh, and then in this similar one, everything goes away, and you get, I know that you'll feel better when you sing. And it's just so, and again, the chords he stacks behind it are so sweet, and then ba 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 da da da, and it's a party again. I love this song so much. It's delightful,
gorgeous, really lovely one. The next one,
yes,
Holiday or
Holidays.
On a Holiday, which is what it's called on a SMiLE. Interestingly,
ASI reference.
It's an interesting one because to me, I think this is the one that's the most different between versions of SMiLE. On the SMiLE sessions, it's just instrumental, I think, which is nice. But I definitely prefer the Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE one, where you get the lyrics along with it. Again, it's one of those things where you think, well, if they didn't record it at the time, then is this newer lyrics that have been put on it, or are these original ones? I'm not too sure. Either way, it's joyous. It does feel like, well, I would say it does feel like I'm on a holiday, but it feels like I'm on a very jolly pirate ship. Yeah, and we're sailing the seas, and we're going to find some treasure, and it's such a fun song. I really enjoy it.
That's it for me. I think again, it's a really strong demonstration of his ability as an arranger generally. We've spoken a lot about his vocal arrangements, but no, again, this is like proper chamber ensemble that he's put together masterfully. He's even got a slide whistle in there, for goodness sake, you know. It's and he's made it sound not stupid, which is difficult for a slide whistle. No disrespect. But no, it feels like holidays when you are a child, when you don't need to worry about the practicalities of booking the flight, the hotel, whether you can afford to do so. As far as you're aware, you're just going to Tenerife, and that's fine enough, you know? Exactly. On a pirate ship, maybe.
Yeah, lovely track. Wind Chimes. Yeah, this was the one. This is what I was going to come to. This was the biggest shock change for me from Smiley Smile, because I think it's one of the tracks that I think is actually quite nice on Smiley Smile before it's been updated. And this is sweet. It's just a guy who likes his wind chimes, much in the same way that Brian Wilson has on record said that Vegetables is just a track about the love of vegetables, which is fantastic. But then it's when you listen to the SMiLE sessions of Brian Wilson SMiLE and you suddenly hear the and just go, sorry, was this always part of the plan? Where does this come from?
To have it descend into God knows what, like a sort of opera, like a big musical chorus closer, curtain closer. It just leaps out at you. And you know what, actually, I do like wind chimes as much as Brian Wilson. I would write a song like this about wind chimes, but someone already has. So it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, I share your sentiment completely. I think the version of Smiley Smile is very quaint.
Yes.
But yeah, just that bombastic sort of section.
Good word.
It completely comes out of nowhere and catches you off guard. And it's really, really fun. Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Fire. The file.
Yes.
This is an interesting one.
It's this section is probably the most disorienting for listeners, I would say. And you got to remember that even this, with all its weird noises, is arrangement that Brian Wilson has sat down and gone, I want this to sound at this point and this to sound at this point. I mean, it's crazy. The context of it, we just in elements section now is the point.
Yeah. So this is meant to resemble fire. There's quite a lot written about this in the David Leaf book, because it was a massive point of contention for Brian. When it came to writing it, I don't suppose it was necessarily with other people. It's just that it was almost like, I don't know if you've got a good example of maybe an artist or a musician making something that becomes so psychologically distressing for them. Like they almost feel like it's like spiritually bad, like it harnesses bad vibes or something.
Goodness me.
But to me, that's sort of what Brian had with this song. He found it, well, I suppose it's a nice reflection of he's made something which, you know, he had a lot of troubles around this time. So he's making something which reflects that. It's like the anger coming out. At the same time, I think he really struggled to work on it or even listen to it. And that was made worse when Dennis brought up, well, I think he'd written it, and then maybe within that same day, Dennis had come to him saying, "Oh, you know, there was like a fire in this block down the road," and to most people whose mental states were okay, will probably go, "Oh, that's really weird."
Yeah, crazy.
I just wrote this track that I'm going to title Fire.
Yeah.
It's really weird. But for Brian, he really, really struggled with that. He thought that he'd caused it because he wrote it.
Wow.
Because of how mentally unstable he was. So working on it and composing it became a massive issue for him, which is incredibly fascinating because I'm pretty sure with Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE, he won a Grammy for this song.
Insane. Insane.
For arranging, I think.
What is the most insane arrangement, probably.
It's an insane, incredible. I think what fascinates me is that I think, to me, from what I remember, this is another one which SMiLE altered. This time on Fall Breaks and Winter Returns, something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The song starts with Fall Breaks.
Yeah.
And the arrangement is a lot less loud. It's more sort of like, oh, this is a bit unsettling. This is weird. It comes right after Vegetables, I think. Again, it's that sort of, I feel like that watering down that SMiLE had of a lot of the themes. Totally bombastic. Love the use of augmented chords. Yeah. Within it. Very clever. Vocal scales as well. Very
lovely scales. Yeah.
That are very nice. Clever track.
Very clever track. In real world discourse, suddenly conscious I've squashed to get to. But
let's speed up.
Let's see.
Next one. It'll be Love to Say Dada on SMiLE Sessions.
Which is genuinely, not just because I've said I've got somewhere to go, it's genuinely the one I have the least to say about.
I think so too. This is also called Blue Hawaii, Blue Hawaii on SMiLE version. It's a nice one. Again, it's sort of like the watery one, so I think it's meant to ease off of the fire one. The most I have to say about it is, this is the one track in which I feel like the version of it that we sort of got in the 70s, Cool Water off of 1970 Sunflower, I would say is better than this. I find it a lot more captivating. I think the motif of water is used a lot more, I don't know, enchantingly. I love the cool, so cool, cool in me, cool, which is probably a Mike Love thing. It sounds like a Mike Love thing.
We'll let him off.
You know, I really like Love to Say Dada in Blue Hawaii, but you know, I think it is just one of those ones which, you know, the Beach Boys had to have at least one, which was the better version. I'm just saying it's my preferred one.
Genuinely, I have nothing to add. I think no disrespect to it, but every time I listen to that, and it's still an interesting point to make, this is the track I remember the least.
Yeah, it's clouded by a lot of other ones in it, which I think struggles.
I think what doesn't help is it's sandwiched between Chaos and potentially their most famous song.
Yeah. Which is...
I may not know. Is Good Vibrations. It's Good Vibrations.
Good Vibrations. Yeah, best song of all time.
I don't actually know if it's my favourite Beach Boys song.
Okay.
I don't actually. I genuinely, I think I struggle between Surf's Up, God Only Knows, Heroes and Villains and genuinely Vegetables. Genuinely.
That's fair. I think the thing with Good Vibrations to me is it's such a big song that I feel like if you were to say best song of all time, it can't be like, oh, there's this really cool like song from this really obscure guy who's got like two listeners and it's really, really good. It's the best song of all time.
No.
It has to be something that loads of people
also
heard.
Important.
Absolutely. And this song was incredibly important.
The shift between recording sessions is one of the most iconic things in music history, you might say. That shift when you hear the tracks swap. One of the truest demonstrations of his ability as an arranger and vocal arranger in particular. I mean, the fact that he can write a song that is so radio friendly but so daring at the same time is a huge achievement in of itself also. I mean, what can you say about Good Vibrator hasn't already been said, man? He's got a few that will live forever, Brian Wilson. This one debatably will live the longest.
Oh, yeah. I think what strikes me about the different versions that we have archivally and on Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE is Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE has altered lyrics, which I don't know if they changed it later. From what I read, it seems like they might have been the original ones that were then rewritten and then... when the Beach Boys recorded it in 1967 for Smiley Smile, that's what came out. The ones that we know and love so much more. I love the colourful clothes she wears and the way the sunlight plays upon her hair. No one recalls it ever being, and she's still working on my brain. No one ever recalls it as being that. And in my opinion, the lyrics from the 67 version are better. In my opinion, I think this song has never had a recorded version that has ever lived up to how great a composition it is.
I think that's actually a really nuanced and well-considered opinion.
Thank you.
I think you're probably right. And I think it probably sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but it probably is true that to even consider that there are pieces of art that are so good, so once in a lifetime, Talking Heads reference, that it's actually impossible to do it justice in the real world. It's an insane concept. The fact that they exist better in mind and on paper than recorded is a ridiculous thing to consider. But this is a rare one where you might actually be right. It's insane.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else more to say about Good Vibrations.
Me neither.
Just to end this off, my favourite version is the Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE, and that's mainly just because of the symphonic writing, the way that he uses the leitmotifs. I think exemplified better on the re-recordings. I find that the archival release is a bit more disjointed, in my opinion.
I'm still going to back the SMiLE sessions, but I think I like the timeliness of it, the authenticity that brings. I like things that sound a bit raw, which sounds a bit counterintuitive because you want your music to sound clean. But there's a charm that you can't quite put your finger on.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Yeah, that's the thing with the SMiLE sessions is I think the authenticity of it. There is something when you listen to Brian Wilson Presents SMiLE that doesn't feel as authentic because it's a re-recording of old material. Even though it's probably the version that he himself was happiest with. Perhaps. Because maybe, I imagine it must have felt quite special to have this vision that's tormented you, realised, with people around you that for once have looked at you and gone, it's an honour to work with you, Mr. Wilson. I'm going to do everything to make this sound as good as it can. Absolutely. He described it as the most cathartic experience of his life. He really needed that, and I'm glad he had it. Because it's nice when good people have good things happen to them. It doesn't happen often, but this time it did. I think that might be us. I think so, yeah. Thank you for listening. This isn't something we normally do, but because we're both very passionate about it, we wanted to put our thoughts out there and have like a little bonus episode to share with you guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. My closing thing is just have a think about what you think would have happened to music history if this had been released in the 60s.
because the consequences of that would have been insane. I've just seen someone on Rate Your Music write a really passionate, positive review, and at the bottom of it say, "Is it better than Sgt. Pepper's? Nah." And I've gone, "You..." but, delete everything you just wrote. You are a charlatan. You're a fraud. You don't actually love it. That tells you my feelings.
Dennis and Brian felt the same. I think both of them said that, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, Pet Sounds is a 4 and SMiLE is a 10. And it's like, yeah, but Pet Sounds is so good as well. But that just shows you how much, how impressed they were by SMiLE.
We've been Idiot Twin.
Hope you've enjoyed.
This has been SMiLE. We hope you do today. Cheers.
Take care.